This is News 8 from Wood TV.
Good morning, West Michigan, and thank you for joining us. I'm Casey Jones.
I'm Teresa Weekly. New COVID-19 restrictions will go into effect Wednesday in Michigan for 3 weeks.
Now, among the new restrictions, high schools and colleges will close to any in-person learning. They'll turn to virtual. It also closes indoor dining. It'll close certain entertainment venues as well and ask people to work from home if they can. We have Governor Gretchen Whitmer joining us live right now. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning.
Now, you have called this order a pause, 3 weeks for the state to get back on track. With some of the orders in the spring being extended several times, I think people are wondering, will that same thing happen? What is the threshold for cases, deaths, hospitalizations that you would need to see to be able to lift this 3-week pause?
Well, let's talk about where we are. We are literally in the worst couple of weeks of this pandemic since it started. And I know we all think about the spring and how tough that was. Our numbers today are worse than they were back then. Now, we do have the capability of doing a lot more testing. We have built up our stores of PPE. So some things are better. We've learned more about COVID-19. We know now that a mask, the simple act of covering your face, is the most important weapon that we have against our common enemy, this virus. However, we also know that people are fatigued and we've been dropping our guard and we're going inside with the weather, the temperature is plummeting. This is an inherently more dangerous situation and we're seeing it in the numbers. Our hospitals are filling up, and on the west side of the state, it's particularly concerning, although it is happening all across Michigan. This is why we know that the experts are telling us to take some aggressive actions now. If everyone does their part, if we all take this seriously and we don't bring families together for Thanksgiving, because that's where we're seeing the greatest spread is in in-person events like that. If we all take this seriously for the next 3 weeks, we can push our numbers down and avoid a stay-home order. But if we don't do anything, we will see Michigan get to where we're having 1,000 deaths a week. Now, I want you to think about that. To this date, we're about 8,000 deaths in the last 8 months. If we get to a point where we're seeing 1,000 deaths a week, that'll be another 20,000 people who will have lost their lives. So let's take this seriously for 3 weeks and push our numbers down.
Are there specifics with those numbers, Governor, that you're looking for? Is there a threshold that you want to see in percentage of the positivity rate or number of cases and deaths to make those decisions?
Well, most of the summer, we had a positivity rate south of 3%. We were the strongest state in the Midwest. We had one of the best economic rebounds in the country because of the work that we did to aggressively get our arms around this virus. Right now, we are much higher than 3%. If we could see our positive rates fall to that number, we would see our hospitalizations fall as well. So that's one of a number of metrics that we are looking at. We're also doing more than 50,000 tests a day in Michigan, which makes us a leader nationally. So we have better information than a lot of states do, and that will enable us to move swiftly and make decisions based on actual fact instead of assumption or feeling. We've got to get this right. Lives are on the line, and the work that we did in the spring saved thousands. We can save thousands of lives, and think about people who we love this Thanksgiving, see them via Zoom so that we can get back together in person next year.
All of that in mind, you said making it based on fact. So I think we're just looking for a specific. What is the number? What's the threshold? What's the likelihood that this could go beyond 3 weeks?
Well, it all depends on people. And I think that's the difficulty here, right? We're a state of 10 million people. We need everyone to do their part. That means staying home as much as you can. That means wearing your mask if and when you leave your house. It means wearing your mask if you have anyone from outside of your household into your home. I mean, the problem that we're all having, of course, is that this is dependent on every one of us doing our part. Our strength depends on all of us doing this. And as I mentioned, the 3% number around positivity rates is one metric that is clear that we are watching. Hospitalization rates are another. If you go online and use the statewide tool, you can see what the numbers are in your area. You can also use a tool to see how high the possibility is of you being exposed to someone in COVID in your particular county. based on one of the national tools that is out there as well. And it's really eye-opening, and that's why we want to make sure people understand how serious this moment is.
Governor, we've all felt the weight of this pandemic. The reality is that so many are out of work. Businesses are still struggling, and these new restrictions will likely make that situation even worse. I know last night you had referenced the federal government and hoping that we could get some help for those who are going through this and being impacted directly, being put out of work and business. Is the state working on anything? Is there any plans that the state is doing to help in that regard?
Well, we do have unemployment benefits here in Michigan. However, so many people have maxed out on them. And when the federal government didn't get this fourth stimulus done, it's left a lot of people in the lurch. My hope is that in these waning days of the Trump administration, that the president and Senator McConnell and Speaker Pelosi can find some common ground and get it done, because there are a lot of good, hardworking people out there who are out of a job through no fault of their own and who need our government to have their backs. We did early on. Part of the reason we had such a strong economic rebound is because we were aggressive and we had some assistance from the federal government. We need that now. Every state in the nation needs that now. And that's why governors across the country on both sides of the aisle are calling on the feds to get this done so we can help people through this tough time.
Governor, I know you responded last night a little bit to the criticism that Senator Shirkey had put out in response to these new restrictions. We also have heard from Representative Matt Maddock threatening a call for impeachment hearings. What do you think of these threats? They had talked about not being included in the process. What was the process to create an order like this?
Well, first and foremost, if the legislature, they over the last 9 months could have been doing some things, but they haven't. If they'd spent half as much time doing their jobs as they have criticizing how I'm doing mine, we would be in a much stronger position. Unfortunately, they've not shown real seriousness here. They won't do a mask mandate. They can't even wear masks themselves, and they've got COVID spreading through the Republican caucuses in both the Senate and in the House. And right now they are on hunting break through December. We are in an urgent crisis. The legislature was designed to be a deliberative body. On the other hand, the executive was designed to be able to move swiftly. We are using powers created by the legislature and given to the Director of Health and Human Services and upheld by the Supreme Court for instances specifically like these. We'll continue to keep the legislature involved. We've been keeping them involved in terms of our modeling calls, giving them ample ability to ask questions. I've asked them for their plan. They don't have one. That's why we've got to continue to move forward and pay attention to what our experts are telling us, and that's what we're doing.
Now, Governor, one of their calls or one of their statements overnight was that they have asked for your response to their plan and they've received none. But you're saying that you have not received a plan from Republican lawmakers.
The legislature could be meeting right now and passing legislation. They are on hunting break until December. They've done very little over the course of the last 9 months. We don't have time to wait for people to start doing their jobs. I'm going to do mine, and I'm going to use every tool available to do that. I've shared an incredible amount of information with them. We have looped them into our meetings. But in asking them, what is your plan? What are your actions? They don't have one. And that's precisely why we can't just simply wait for people to come to the table. We have to act now. I will continue to make available information and opportunities to work together, but I'm not going to wait for them to come back from hunting break. We've got lives on the line, and we have to act.
And just lastly, Governor, before we let you go, I know you take a lot of pride in the actions you have taken to try and curb the spread of this virus. And you already mentioned pandemic fatigue a bit earlier. There are so many people out there that are feeling that I am wearing my mask, I am doing my part, I am, avoiding family and friends, and yet still we are seeing numbers that could surpass our first wave of this virus. Why do you think we're seeing those numbers despite these efforts?
Well, it's because I think this moment has been made overly political. It's an election year. It's become an article of faith for some. The fact of the matter is this is a public health crisis, and COVID-19 doesn't care if we're tired. COVID-19 doesn't care that the legislature's on a hunting break. COVID-19 doesn't care about our political parties. This is still a very real threat, and it's exhausting, and it's frustrating and maddening. And trust me, I have those same emotions. But here we are, and we've got to double down on what we know works. We've been in this place before. We were able to smash the curve. It absolutely requires that we all take this seriously, and that's what we've got to rally to. Our common enemy is a virus, and the best weapon we have is staying home and wearing a mask when we're not.
Governor Whitmer joining us this morning to talk about these new restrictions which take effect Wednesday morning. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you.
Now, if you missed any of our interview this morning with the governor, you can find all of it in its entirety at woodtv.com.
Yeah, we'll continue to bring you these updates here online and on air. Follow us at Wood TV 8.